Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Mahoney and I am the author of the Guardian of the Opera trilogy, a retelling of The Phantom of the Opera, and a sequel when you get to book 2. And I am here today to talk about Love Never Dies, Andrew Lloyd Webber's sequel to his Phantom of the Opera play. Obviously, having written a sequel, it gives me something of a particular perspective on Love Never Dies, especially as you can hopefully tell just from my cover. Meg Giry is a major part of my version of events, and she's a major part of Love Never Dies. Other than that, everything is different. So I acknowledge that I come to this with a particular point of view. However, I rewatched Love Never Dies today, in fact, to try to have an open mind about it. It was not better than I remembered. So I first saw Love Never Dies, it must have been about 8 years ago now when it first came out, so to speak. It was a Fathom event in the theaters. Yeah, it was not good. Today I got it on my computer on Amazon and watched it again. I liked some of the music better than I remembered. Otherwise, no, it was not good. And I know it is a popular filmed play in Phantom circles, so I respect that it has its fans. And if you don't want to hear criticisms of the play, this is probably not the video for you, because that's where we're going. So I actually took notes while watching because there's a lot to unpack here. I would like to be able to say, something like, well, it was pretty good up until something happened. But actually, the problems start on literally the first shot, when the text tells us that a mysterious fire raged through the Opera Populaire and the strange masked man disappeared. And I remember this when I watched it in the theater originally, and I'm like, okay, that's some retconning. I mean, it's contrary to actual life, because the Opera Garnier is still there. I mean, I've been there, it's there. Apparently, Webber's play is not set in the Opera Garnier, it's set in the Opera Populaire that just looks a whole lot like the Opera Garnier, so, okay. But also, the mysterious fire. Is that the chandelier falling? Maybe, which didn't actually happen at the end of most productions of Webber's play, although it did happen at the end of the Gerard Butler movie, so maybe. But I mean, if it's a fire caused by a crashed chandelier, I don't know that I'd exactly call that a mysterious fire. They know what caused it. It was a chandelier. Or there was another fire? I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't know a lot in this review, because this was just like point 1, whereas like this does not add up at all. So, all right, there was a fire. I can deal with that. There was a fire. We move on. 10 years have passed now. They tell us that as well. And we open on a shot of the Phantom dramatically playing his music, as one does when one is the Phantom, and then singing an extremely angst-filled song about Christine. So, funny thing here, the song is Till I Hear You Sing. I actually really like it as a song. I've always liked it as a song. I have I bought a copy of it sung by someone else at some point and quite enjoy it, in fact, as a song. In this story, it really just starts us down a path that is so problematic. Because basically what we're being told in the first 2 minutes of this play is that the Phantom has not moved forward at all in 10 years. He has crossed an ocean to Coney Island, we'll get to that, and created this whole new life and like started a whole carnival, we'll call it that, and yet he is still obsessing about Christine 10 years later. Yeah. Unfortunately, I spend pretty much the entire song and then a lot of the rest of the play going, please, man, just move on. Please move on. It has been 10 years and there are all kinds of reasons this was not a healthy relationship to begin with, but that is a different video that I have also made, and so I won't rehash it all here. And, okay, so there is also the particular line in Till I Hear You Sing, to the effect of, seasons pass, years pass, and still you don't come through my door. And we don't know this at this point if we're watching the play for the first time, but what we eventually find out is that Christine thinks he's dead. Like, he let her think that he is dead. And also, you know, he crossed an ocean to Coney Island. So, man, she's not coming through your door, and there are reasons for that. And yeah, I wouldn't be not sleeping until you hear her sing for 10 years, as another line also says. So yeah, I think you already see the point of view I'm taking on this play. So we move on from the Phantom, who has also just told us that he's been wasting his time on terrible music for 10 years. That's another line in Till I Hear You Sing, or maybe right before Till I Hear You Sing. Anyway, and then we start seeing that music, you know, because there's nothing like having your title character tell you that, well, okay, he's not the title character in this one, but main character, tell you that the music you're about to hear is wasted and useless and a pointless use of his time. So then all of a sudden we have the freak show of all of the people at the Phantoms, which, by the way, I refuse to call him Mr. Y, because I'm just like, I don't know. But he is now running Mr. Y's Phantasma, which is a freak show carnival thing on Coney Island that has like some weird sideshow dance numbers as well. I don't know. So they do an opening number, is what comes next. And we see Meg Giry is the ooh la la girl and the headliner of his sideshow act, whatever we want to call it. I have a lot of problems with the Phantom running a freak show. It's a really established thing in the Phantom's mythos that he was in a freak show as a child, exhibited in a cage. I mean, that is a huge part of his history and mythos. It's in some versions of Webber. It's in a lot of other versions. So the Phantom then going on to run a freak show is really emotionally problematic. And I would like to believe, and I think possibly the intention is, that he's creating a place where the freaks can be free. And I feel bad continuing to call them that, by the way, but I mean, that's what the show is calling them. And, you know, and they can all be themselves and all be embraced. And I want to believe that's what's happening, but there is not actually any evidence that that is what's happening. I was looking for it this time around because I've heard that argument said that that's what the intention is supposed to be. We never actually hear from any of them about how they feel. Granted, they are a very cheerful group. They don't seem to be like oppressed or downtrodden, but I mean, we also really only see them performing. We don't see like a private moment, and you put on a smile when you're performing because maybe you don't have any other options. So it could go either way. We can try to believe that this is a good place, but man, it's dark a lot, and there's a really weird scene later on where we see the freaks like almost in display cases. I mean, it's weird. It's really weird, and I have problems with the freak show thing. And the ooh la la girl. I feel like this play turns me into a snob, and I'm not normally a snob, and I like popular culture, and I don't have much patience for people in the ivory towers who are like, oh, some art is so much more refined and this stuff for the masses is not. However, I find it really hard not to feel that Meg has sunk a bit from ballet at the Premier Opera House in Paris to the ooh la la girl in the sideshow act. And maybe I'm supposed to feel that way. I feel like they set me up to feel that way, but I feel really bad for Meg for a lot of reasons, which I will continue to get into. One side note that I will go ahead and say at this point, I quite enjoy actually watching this movie from the perspective of what would my versions of these characters feel watching it, you know, in some kind of weird crossing of the universes. I really think my Meg would find it all quite hilarious. She would not want to live that life at all, and I do not think she would ever make choices that led to living that life. But she would find the play hilarious. Eric would have like started out doing the backing away in his chair, and probably by the time we get to the ooh la la girl, which is not very far in, I think he would have been over the back of the chair and like under it, and just so disturbed by so many things that he would not even know how to respond. I'm somewhere in between with both of them, which is probably why I think that they would think that way. But yeah, I understand both of those perspectives. All right, so play, moving forward. We're only on like the fourth song. I'm gonna try and move faster through this. So lo and behold, Christine is kind of gonna walk through the Phantom's door because she's coming to New York to sing for Oscar Hammerstein. Okay, a thing they never quite explain. I think we're supposed to conclude that actually the Phantom like set this whole thing up and Hammerstein was never involved and it was all just a trick to get her to New York, which is really messed up, actually. But I don't know, maybe Hammerstein was actually involved. The play doesn't tell us. He just like never appears on the scene, and instead the Phantom swoops in and takes Christine and Raoul and their 10-year-old son, Gustav, off to, I don't know, a hotel on Coney Island, I guess, and they don't find that weird somehow. Even though they don't know it's him, they think it's still Hammerstein. The questions that should be asked. There is, in fact, a line, I wrote it down. The people who come to meet them from the freak show say, ask no questions, have no fear, anything can happen here. And I'm like, people, if anything can happen here, that is the time to ask questions. But they don't. So we are learning that also Christine is, I guess, still a grand singer, although possibly she hasn't sung for a while, but everyone still finds her really famous. I don't know. And Raoul, we swiftly learn, has gone through a complete personality change since the Phantom play. He's now deep into gambling debts and drinking, and as we find in a song that he has later on, seems to have really completely lost any confidence he ever had, and any sense that he's in any way worthy of Christine, which I don't know where that's coming from. That is not the Raoul that was in the previous play at all, and it really feels like he's being turned into a straw man. I think that would be the right term, so that you can sweep him aside and say that actually Christine should be with the Phantom, because that's where this play is going. And it feels very unfair to Raoul, actually. I'd like to try, and I'm not even particularly a Raoul fan as a rule, but what happens to him in this play, of what the character assassination that happens, feels very unfair. I'd quite like to try to analyze where this might have come from, but they don't give us anything. If Christine was different in this play, I would totally go all the way on the theory, because I think she could have more control and knows what she's doing a lot more in the original play. I could go all the way on that with the theory that, you know, for 10 years, Raoul has been married to Christine, and I would bet there have been some dropped comments of, well, you just don't understand me the way the Phantom did, and you just don't understand my singing, and it's okay, I love you, but you just don't understand me. And that would explain a lot of what happened to Raoul. We don't actually see anything in this play to suggest that that's going on. Christine is being super, super sweet and actually very loving towards him. It's just setting Christine up as the martyr, and I don't know that there's any great plausibility to this. It's just intended to drive the characters and the plot in a particular direction, whether it makes sense or not. All right, so they're at the hotel. We got that far, right? And we get a passing scene of Raoul refusing to play with Gustav because, again, Raoul is supposed to be the villain now. In his defense, I don't think aristocratic men of 1905 did play with their children particularly, and that was considered normal, so yeah. But anyway, again, it's just trying to drive it a particular way. And then the Phantom appears when Christine is alone, of course. And now we get some backstory, and we find out that apparently 10 years ago, they spent a night together. So there's so many things wrong with this scene. Not even necessarily that they spent the night together. I mean, all right, fine, but there are so many things wrong here. So apparently it was after the fire, because he says that she found him where he fled. How? I mean, I don't know where he went, but how did she know where he went? And yeah, that's not explained. Not explained at all. It was under a moonless sky that they had this night of passion. And they keep repeating about it being the moonless sky, and it was darkness, and they couldn't see each other. And that's when they could finally be together. And there is so much that is so unhealthy about the idea that they could only be together when she can't see him. I mean, he's a man with a facial deformity. He certainly believes that's the obstacle to their romance. I think that's arguable, but it's certainly his belief. And it's a good argument, actually, that it is in some level a problem for her. And the fact that they can only have their moment together when she can't see his face, just, it's so messed up. I mean, she's not accepting who he is at all. It's just, if I close my eyes, it'll be okay, is a really unhealthy approach to a relationship. Then apparently in the morning, he decided to leave. And for some reason, she thought he was dead. They don't explain that either. I mean, she knew he survived the fire. This happened after the mysterious fire, so I don't know why she thought he was dead. He was just gone and presumably crossed an ocean at that point. And okay, so continuity issues. But then they pivot really fast from, oh yes, this beautiful time. Oh, but it can't be the same now. He thinks it can be. Well, all right. So he's like, we can be together, even though we couldn't be together then. And nothing has actually changed. But for some reason now, I think we can be together. And she's like, no, we can't. And he pivots really fast to, aha, then I will threaten you into singing for me, even if I have to make your child disappear. And it's just like, what is wrong with him? Seriously? I mean, we already knew he had not moved on emotionally in 10 years if he's still this hung up on Christine, but apparently he has not moved on at all. He is still hung up on totally manipulative, exploitative, controlling actions. And I say this as a fan of the Phantom in the original play, and one who firmly believes that under the right circumstances and with a lot of self-focus, work, and growth, he could be a great romantic lead. He is not one in this play. 10 years have gone by. He is now threatening a child to force Christine to sing for him. He also like refers to her peerless instrument, referring to her voice. But I mean, it's super objectifying. So objectifying. Which then continues. So she's like, okay, I guess I'll sing for you because you're gonna like kill my child. I mean, that is not romantic. There is no, yes, I want to sing for you because I love you. It's, you're gonna kill my child, so I guess I'll sing for you. That is where we are with this. We move forward. They go to Phantasma. They meet Meg. There was a bit earlier, I skipped right over it, about Meg where she and her mother hear that Christine is going to come to town. And Meg is super sweet about it. She's like really excited about her friend coming back to town and it'll be so lovely. And it is so heartbreaking, partially because I know where this play is going, but there's just this innocent naivete there. It's pretty clear already by this point, when this part comes up in the story, that Meg really, really likes the Phantom. Really likes the Phantom. And she does not realize at all what is coming down with Christine's arrival. Her mother is on the ball. She knows what's going on. But I really find Meg the very tragic figure in this play. Meg and Raoul to a certain degree, which would not have guessed after watching the first play that is what would happen in a sequel. So we go on. There's some stuff with the Phantom and the kid, and the Phantom suddenly realizing, aha, this kid who is 10 years, it must have been 10 years and 9 months since that moonless sky, and yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to go there. The Phantom's quite shocked by it. That is something I didn't mention. Ben Lewis plays the Phantom in this. He emotes a lot. To be fair to him, it was a film version of a live play. He would not be the first stage actor I've seen who plays to the second balcony when, unfortunately, the camera is, right there. So, it's a little over the top, kind of a lot. Including when he finds out that Gustav is, 10 years old and kind of likes music. I mean, that's not exactly a DNA test, but yeah, sure, okay. All right. The play goes on and on. Eventually, the Phantom and Raoul have a bit of a confrontation. I actually really like their song as a song. Devil Take the Hindmost. It's a good back and forth, tense song. I also, despite feeling so bad for Raoul in this play, I do enjoy the scene where he's all, I'm not afraid of the Phantom, and the Phantom like pops up and Raoul jumps back 2 feet. It's a nice little interplay. But anyway, they have this whole back and forth about, well, we will let Christine choose between us. And they make this bet that if Christine, because Christine has agreed to sing, right? And they kind of like wiped away the threat to Gustav, the kid, when the Phantom found out that it was his son. Because obviously he could kill Christine's son, but not his son. I don't know. But she has said she will still sing anyway, because obviously, you don't run from the man who threatened your child. I don't know. So at the moment, she's still planning to sing. The Phantom and Raoul then make this bet that if Raoul gets her to not sing, the Phantom will pay off all of his debts. They all leave together. Great, happy ending for Raoul. If Christine does sing, Raoul is supposed to walk out on her and I guess presumably sort of leave her to be scooped up by the Phantom. What is fascinating and horrible about this is they keep saying they're letting Christine choose, but they're not, because no one is openly telling Christine what this means. No one is going to Christine and saying, look, we know you've kind of got a thing with both of us. decide. You know, no pressure, no like threats to anyone, no weird games, just, do you want to be with Raoul or do you want to be with the Phantom? No, there's none of that. There is none of that. They make this bet, no one tells her about the bet. So, like, she's supposed to sing or not sing, and either her life goes on, as it has been, or her husband leaves her, and she does not know that that's what's at stake here. So how can she possibly be making an informed choice? She can't at all. So she is continuing to lack agency and be totally objectified and pushed around by the men in her life, which, yeah, we saw that in the last play. I'd like to believe she's not quite as lacking in agency in the first play as she probably was. I'd have to watch this one way more times than I'm willing to watch it to try and figure out if she could, in fact, somehow be working angles in this one. But my initial sense is no, she's really just powerless in this situation. So, surprise, she sings. It's the title song, Love Never Dies. It's good melody. The words do kind of read like they were written by a man who had one moment and wants to believe that that was real and true and more real than her 10-year marriage. And it's not a super healthy depiction of love in that song. And I just get hung up on, you know, sometimes love does die. And it should, because it was not a good relationship and it made everyone involved unhappy, and it's really better if it goes away. And love that ends was not love. But that's kind of the idea of this song, that, you know, real love, no matter what happens, it continues. It all starts to tie back a little bit to a song Christine had earlier with Gustav, where she basically said, love doesn't always look like love. Sometimes you have to ignore what you see and hear and just feel things. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably a bad idea too. That's how you end up with the crazy man who threatens your son, but your heart tells you that it's love, despite all the evidence of your senses. So, yeah. While Christine was singing, I didn't even get into one of the big fundamental continuity plausibility issues of this, by the way. So the Phantom's been super obsessed with Christine singing for the whole play, and he means when she sings Love Never Dies on stage. It's a musical. They sing a bunch of duets before that, and they're like, sing duets, and then he'll go, but I just can't feel whole until I hear you sing. And it's like, man, she just sang. She just sang, but that didn't count, apparently. So she finally sings. And Raoul leaves. Because, yeah, that's what you do when the crazy madman is like waiting to swoop up your wife. I don't know. And I don't think there's any indication that Christine knew what it meant when she sang. She's looking for Raoul afterwards. She doesn't know he's leaving. She did not choose the Phantom. It's just that Raoul's gone. And now the Phantom's here. And then very swiftly they realize, oh, Gustav is missing. And that brings us back around to Meg. So we did earlier see Meg perform Bathing Beauties. Makes me feel like a snob because it's basically a sideshow striptease thing, which outside of a play like this where the story is about all of these characters who are performing in the play, you would never put Love Never Dies, the song, and Bathing Beauties into the same show. They're a completely different style, but all right. So they realize that Meg has had a full-on breakdown with regard to the Phantom and Christine and dragged away the kid. There's a terrible confrontation at the end where she's threatening Gustav. They manage to get the kid away from her, but she's gonna kill herself with a gun, and she reveals all the terrible sordid things she did to help the Phantom, and he never saw her. And this, I think, is what would bother my Phantom the most, that this Phantom was that blind. But this Phantom tries to talk her down, and he almost gets there. I mean, he's all like, I see you, I understand, you feel lost just like me, and we're so the same, and not everyone can be like Christine. And it's like, man, wait, that's like her trigger word, right? You know that? No, he doesn't, because he obviously has not noticed her in the last 10 years and doesn't really have a grip on what's going on right now. She freaks out, there's a struggle, the gun goes off, oops, Christine got shot. It would be nice if I was sad about that, but I mostly just kind of want to know, so did Meg get away? Because I really hope she and her mother hopped a train and ran for it, and she became a great dancing star in San Francisco on the other side of the continent. I mean, that would be a happy ending to me, especially because she didn't even mean to kill Christine. It was an accidental shot. Right, I kind of gave away the ending there. Christine sings a little bit more, somehow, after being shot in the abdomen, with no blood, by the way, because, I mean, stage blood, it's a thing, but not here. And then dies. After, having a moment with the Phantom, even though, it was such a problematic relationship the whole way through that, now I'm dying and I will kiss you. I'm just like, what? All right. The kid comes back. He hugs the Phantom. The end? I don't know where it was supposed to be going. I mean, the only reason people write sequels to the Phantom, pretty much, is either to give the Phantom a happy ending or demonstrate that the Phantom and Christine were actually supposed to be the true love couple. I feel like they were trying to do the second part, but it was so messed up in so many ways. So many ways. I don't see that she ever chose him. I don't see that she ever should have chosen him. In fact, he just was even more problematic than he was 10 years previously. And I guess maybe he's gonna have a relationship with the kid now, and that's a little bit of a happy ending, but I don't know. Raoul comes back at the end too, and I honestly kind of feel like the kid's gonna say, hey, Mr. Y. I guess he wouldn't say Mr. Phantom. He actually would say Mr. Y. Sorry about my mom. I'm gonna go away with the guy who actually raised me now. That poor kid is gonna be so traumatized too. I mean, in the space of 5 minutes, he was told his father wasn't his father, and then his mother died violently in front of him. I mean, it's really horrible, actually. And that's the end. And I wrote a trilogy giving the Phantom a happy ending after the end of the first play. I would not even know where to start at the end of this play. We just dug deeper down. So there you have Love Never Dies. If you love it, I would actually like to know why. I acknowledge that there could be things I'm missing here. If you hate it, I'm happy to hear about that too. There could be things I missed in that regard as well. And if you like a different version, I will go ahead and do the plug. Dropped a book. It turns out differently in mine. So differently. Which I admit skews my view of Love Never Dies. So thanks for watching. This was a long review. I had a lot of feelings. And go to my blog, marveloustales.com, if you want more reviews or to find out more about my books.